Well, hi Stampers, it's Jackie from Clumpin' Stampers. This video serves as kind of your tips video to go along with the online stamping class that's all about different ways to cut your designer series paper. I love designer series paper and I love to use it as my focal point because one, it's so beautiful, and number two, it just helps you make quick and easy cards. But I like to be able to cut it different and have different layout ideas. So your tutorial gives you 5 different diagrams to cut your designer series paper different ways to make 5 different layouts. Now don't limit yourself to just the paper that I used. I use the Garden Lane for all of my samples, but this way of cutting paper really will work with any paper. Now all of these, I am starting with 4x6 pieces. Now you don't have to do that. If your paper is 12x12, cut it however you want to get started. But honestly, a lot of times when I get designer series paper, I cut it all up into 4x6 pieces because to me, this is more manageable and I tend to use it more on my cards if I have these smaller pieces that are just a little bit bigger than card size, but we want to keep it that way so we've got some scraps and we can cut and play with it like you'll see here in a second. The other thing, I know a lot of people cut theirs down into 6x6 pieces. There again, it's a little bit more manageable for card making. Now I'm going to go through each one of these and just show you how I cut the paper. And I'll show you how I laid it out on the card front. I'm not going to do any stamping. Now you'll see in the tutorial, I did use Good Morning Magnolia as well as Magnolia Blooms for all of my greetings. Now with these ideas, remember it's all about how you cut the designer series paper. So once you've done that, grab any greetings you have, and whether you use circle punches or you just cut out shapes or different label punches, just add a greeting to it. Maybe some ribbon, maybe a little embellishment, and bam, you've got some quick and easy cards. So let's go ahead and get started with these layouts. I think for each one, I'm going to go ahead and show you the cards first. So this is layout number 1, and you can see with all of these, you can turn your cards this way or that way. Use the idea however you want, but it's all about how we're going to cut the designer series paper. So with these, I've just grabbed a bunch of different scraps of different papers. So, I kind of drive that point across that you can really do these with any papers. So in most cases, we're going to start by doing a cut to get it down to a little bit smaller for our card. So since this is 6x4, for this one, we're going to go ahead and cut it down to 5.5. Now, never throw away your scraps. You're going to see how we can use these scraps here in just a second. Then if you look at the diagram, we're going to cut this way, and we are going to cut a piece that is 2 inches. Okay. And then we're also going to cut 2 pieces that are 1/4 inch each. Now for that, what I like to do with my cutter is because you have markings over here on the right side as well. So I'm going to come over here to 1/4 and cut it. Okay. And then we'll move this one over again to another 1/4. Oops, where's my line there? When it gets smaller like this, it's just a little bit harder to move. So we'll cut that one at 1/4. And this again is going to be a scrap. So now for my card, all I'm going to do is take my 2-inch piece. And for this one, you might want to plan it out a little bit better so you get more word of the birds. I guess I didn't think of that too much. But there is our 2-inch piece. And then these little 1/4 inch strips, we're going to just flip those upside down. And then we're going to have a nice border. Because almost all the papers, when you flip them over, one side's a little bit busier of a print and the other side's a little bit more subtle. So it works good for your little strips. Add a greeting, add some embellishments, add some ribbon, and we'll just pull these in again. And you can see how I did that on both of these. And then don't forget to make the insides pretty. Now on all of these cards, you'll notice this is where I use scraps. So here, we could cut this down and put it inside. We could cut this down and put it inside. Maybe cut a longer strip here for inside one way or the other. But that's why when we cut these down, keep these pieces because they're perfect for those insides. So there is our first layout. here's layout number 2. Now, once again, you can see how I've made my 2 cards going 2 different directions so that you can see how same idea, just turn your card once you've cut your designer series paper. And once again, we're starting with a 6x4 piece. And let's go ahead and use this one. Now, if you follow the diagram, you will see that I just started out by cutting let's see, a strip that is 3/4. So we can come over here to that 3/4 mark. Or you could go backwards and it's 6. So that would be what, 5 1/4. So here's one piece. And then this other one, we're going to cut it at 3. So for this one, we're not going to have any scraps. So for this one, you'll have to grab some scraps from the rest of your pack, maybe from the way you cut it for another card. And then, you know what? I don't think I showed this in the diagram. This one I actually did do 2 at one time because that gave me a little bit more flexibility with all of these pieces. So I had 2 6x4s. Okay, there we go. Because on each card, we're actually using 3 prints. So now we need a big one for each side so I can play around. Which ones do we want? I think we'll go, actually, I kind of like the stripes. And then we can put this one next to it. And what's that leave us? That one right there. And then let's add stripes over to that one. And the dark over there. Hey, that worked out perfect. But that's why I did 2 at one time. You can see here all the different prints. Because when you do 2, then you really have 4 different prints to go together. Now this one, when you do put this onto your card base, I did adhere this one down. And then I adhered this one down. And that will fill your card base. And then this one just goes over the top, like so. So that's layout number 2. Moving right along, we have layout number 3. And again, I'm showing it both directions. So here we've got our 4x6 piece. And for this, we're going to start like we did that first one. We're going to cut this down to 5 1/2 so it spans the whole width of our card. And then we're going to go ahead and again, we need a 2-inch piece. And then this time, instead of just doing 2 smaller strips, we're going to do one that's a little bit bigger and do a 1/2 inch piece. So there we go. So now, again, we've got some scrap here to play around with for the inside of our card. And then when we put our card together on this one, we will go ahead and bump this right up to the fold and then flip this one to get the other side. And that's going to adhere right on there. And then finish it up with a greeting, ribbon, embellishments, whatever you want. So there's that. And all of these, and they're shown in your tutorial. I show you all the insides, but this is where I just use scraps. I also use greetings from those same stamp sets for my inside verses as well. So there's number 3. Okay, layout 4 and 5 are probably my favorite because you just get to cut a bunch of pieces and then mix and match them. So you can see here how we've got the strips and they're just all mixed and matched. So this is another example of where you're going to make several at one time. So I do have, what do I got here? 3 pieces that are 6x4. And if your cutter can handle it, and the new Stampin' Up! Cutter will allow you to cut multiple sheets like this. So we're gonna cut them all down to 5 1/4. Okay, so this here is going to be our scrap for insides, and then keep these nice and tight together, and they're going to be 1 1/4 inch each. I like to kind of count backwards, so I'm going to go 1 + 1/4, put that up there, we'll cut those, and then we can move this, just trying to make sure I have them nice and tight together there. We'll go right there for the other 1 1/4, and that should cut them to the size we need. Do I need to cut any off? Oh no, we need to cut that off a little bit. I should be following my directions here. This one I'm doing 1 at a time just because we're cutting such a thin little strip, making sure we are we get that nice and straight. So that's gonna go like, let's get that in there. There we go. 1 1/4. You know, it is so cold in my stamp room. I feel like my hands are just not moving very well. Okay, there's 1 1/4. Okay, look at all those scraps. Those are for the inside. And now this is where the fun part comes in. So let's take all of our pieces. We're gonna make 3 cards at one time. So let's look at our samples again. So we need the 3 long strips. So what I like to do is lay them all out. So if we went, let's see, we wanna make sure I stay on the camera here for you. Let's do that. I think we'll put a solid one, a backside there. What if we did that and that? And this one's pretty easy actually to mix and match. Look at that, how simple is that? So you can play around with these however you want. Now a little tip, when you go to adhere these onto your card front, I like to do the left one first, and I'm just eyeballing equal amount, top and bottom, and this left side should be about the same amount. Then come over here to the right and do the same thing. Top, bottom, and the right side eyeballed, and then that one should fit nicely right in the middle, like so. So there is layout number 4. And then layout number 5 is kind of the same concept. We're just making thinner strips, and they're coming this direction of the card instead of that way. So all of these strips are 4 by 1 inch. So you can just take your designer series paper. We're not trimming anything off. We're just, because it's 6 inches, you're gonna cut it into 6 1-inch strips. So if you do 3 different prints, you're gonna mix and match them just like we did with these, and you'll have a few extra pieces left over. If you really wanna make a lot of cards, grab 5 different pieces and cut all of them. And again, cut them all into just 1-inch strips this way, mix and match all of them, and then you can easily make 5 cards all at once. And this is kind of a fun paper because you can, again, once you start mixing and matching it, very geometric, kind of bold and bright. So I'm not going to cut them for you because it's very similar to the other one. So there you go, 5 different layouts, 5 different ways to cut your designer series paper to use it up. Don't hoard your paper. Cut it up, make pretty cards, and then don't forget to send them as well. Send someone some happy mail. There's nothing better than getting cards in the mailbox instead of all those bills. So if you have any questions, let me know. And thank you so much for participating in my online class this month. Whether you got it for free because you placed an order or you just purchased the class, I hope you thoroughly enjoy it. And hopefully in a couple of months, I'm going to have part 2 of designer series paper layouts, because I've got a whole bunch more ideas that I'm going to share with you. Kind of the same concept, cutting it up to make quick and easy cards. So we'll talk to you again real soon. Have a stamp happy day.